Assalamualaikum and have a blessed day everyone. My name is by Asra Bansil, the first reporter of this group, together with other reporter Miss Kim Raida Gyapor and Miss Hajar Silongan. Our assigned topic is all about human rights and the natural law. So, let's start! These are the following subtopics of our report: rights and the human person, the importance of the doctrine of human rights, reality and justification of rights, definition of rights, misconception of individual rights, limitation of rights, the full gamut of human rights, and lastly, beyond declaration, implementation, realization. Those are the subtopics that we will explain in our report, and I hope at the end of this presentation, every one of us can learn something and can gain knowledge from our presentation report. Chapter 9, Human Rights and Natural Law. So, natural law does not merely prescribe what is to be done or what not to be done, but it recognizes rights, particularly rights linked to human person. So, for example of this natural law that has the connection to human person is the law of justice. So, the law of justice where every one of us deserve to have a fair justice in any phases of circumstance. To sum it up, natural law is say something about respect, or there's a present of respect where we cannot trespass the rights of one another, because in this world it is our duty or everyone's responsibility to recognize and respect the rights of one another. So for short, natural law, it is our duty and responsibility to respect every one of us. Let's proceed to rights and human person. So rights are due to a man precisely. This sentence means that why man deserve to have a rights, or we as human being, why we deserve to have a rights? Because of two reasons. We possess the worth and dignity. And some philosophers say in philosophy that man is not a meaningless question mark. So from that word or from that sentence, we obviously know that man has something to do in this world, have a big role in this world. Because we as human beings have the power to think, we have the power to reason out, and we have the power to judge. Because we are the master of ourself and action that has a supreme purpose or supreme function here in this world. According to religion viewpoint, he is infinite value, which means man is infinite value. So why? Because we as human beings have the boundless or unmeasurable value here in this world, which only means that we are functional here in this world. Actually, among all the creatures that Allah or God created, we human beings are the most wonderful and precious one. Man is a creature, yes, as what I said before, man is a creature made by Allah or God. And because of this, we have the right to worship our Creator in accordance with the dictates of our conscience, or how pure or devoted we are towards our Creator. Man is born and its nature to attain his purpose. So for us to attain this purpose, we have the right to live harmoniously and peacefully here in this world and work for our destiny given to us. Man is a nature of social being that has natural right. Yes, because man is the subject of rights and possess rights, which have a supreme worth and dignity here in this world. And now let's proceed and discuss the importance of the doctrine of human rights. Social order. So for us to attain the social order, it's extremely important the presence of moral doctrine of dignity of man and his constituents' rights. So before anything else, I will clarify first what is this moral doctrine. So we know that moral is a principle of right and wrong behavior, and doctrine is a set of beliefs or a thought. So to make it short, moral doctrine is a set of guidelines or a knowledge that has the content of essential rights that we as human beings deserve to have it, because we all know that man or human beings have the supreme worth and dignity here in this world. To make it more clear, for example, is inside the classroom. So the teacher or the classroom president must propose a rules and regulation to maintain the orderliness. So it is very important to have the rules and regulation because it functions as their basis, reference, or guidelines for them to know what are the prohibited and non-prohibited actions inside their classroom. In the same with the society, to maintain the social order, the heads or the mayors must propose a law or a rules and regulation in their certain place so that the citizens there must something to follow. It is very important to have the rules and regulation for them to know what are the prohibited things to do and what are the non-prohibited things to do, and also for them to limit their actions in a good way. So, it only means that if there is a social order attained in a certain place, there's a proper relation existing among the members of that society. And this social order is considered as a principle of human rights. And as what you observe, there's a presence of respect among the members of society for them to attain the social order that their place deserves. For example, specifically the relationship between the employer and the worker, where the employer should treat their workers as a human person which deserve to have the dignity and the rights as a human being in accordance to the doctrine of human rights or based on the essential rights of a person. So additional example is individual and the state, employer and employee, landlord and tenant, and also our parents and we their children. So to maintain the orderliness, there is a presence of respect to one another and there is a rules between the two opponents for them not to abuse the rights of one another. So now let's proceed to another example, relation between the man and state. So the doctrine of human rights is very important with these two opponents because we all know that man have their own perspective as well as to the state have their own perspective. But because of the doctrine of human rights, the two opponents can work together where there is a presence of understanding and following the rules of one another, respecting one another to fulfill the vision of success of their country or a place. Also, the relation between man and state makes up the world of difference. So why it makes up the world of difference? Because of two reasons. First, in man, democracy founded by natural rights. In government or state, there's a presence of dictatorship or communism. So if the man or the people got confused which doctrine they should follow, then there's a chance that present conflict may occur, and if there's a present conflict, destroy of present civilization may happen in your certain place or country. So the whole social, the present moral orders, and the entire science of ethics will always defend in terms of the rights of man and his duties. The importance of principle of human rights. It is overemphasized, or for short, it means usable or very functional. Why? Because the principle of human rights is the basis of equality, or it is a foundation of justice, where the democracy and the social ethics defends at. Additional opinion to the relation between the man and the state of how they maintain the good relationship from one another. It's just because they take the responsibilities and duties properly. The state or the government, the one who imposed those rules and regulation or the laws that has a good effect or advantage to us as a human being or citizen of our country, and obeying the laws that the state or government imposed. To sum it up, the relation between the man and the state is something tackled about the concept of give and take. So for example, is the two opposite in lifestyle, the rich and the poor. So they have the same fundamental rights because they are both as a human person. So even though they have the differences in terms of lifestyle, but as long as they are a human person or a human being, they have the same fundamental rights here in this world. Another example is the poor servant and the king or highest rank. So even though they are not the same in terms of their rank in society, but in terms of their rights, they have the same fundamental rights as what I said before. Also, the citizen have their prior rights so that the state or the government cannot deprive them easily. To sum it up, man or we as a human being should live in this world with dignity and the essential rights that we all deserve. And man or human beings should not treated as a mere tool or as an amusement of wealth and profit.
Assalamualaikum and have a great day everyone. I am Kimraida Digyapar, the second reporter for the topic Human Rights and Natural Law. So we have subtopics and I am assigned with the reality and justification of rights, definition of rights, and an introduction to the full gamut of human rights. Let's start with the reality and justification of rights. Some thinkers deny the existence of rights on the ground that the concept of right is merely an abstraction not applicable and useful in concrete practical world of human affairs. So what do you think could be the reason why those thinkers deny the existence of right? Maybe because they have not experienced or enjoyed their right as a person sa kadahilan ng nakatira sila sa isang lugar wherein they don't feel or they don't see the essence of having rights. At nangyayari ito sa mga bansa kung saan ang political system is monarchy. So, Burke and Taine have condemned the document of the Declaration of the Human Rights of a Man as harmful, inexpedient, and as bad politics. So, by the way, Burke and Taine were French thinkers, critics and historians, and yes, according to them, the declaration of the human rights of a man is harmful, inexpedient, or komplikado dahil nahahaluan ito ng bad politics. And we all know the effects of bad politics. Napapatahimik ng mga taong nasa itaas o yung mga taong may power ang mga weak or yung mahihina, like let's say a mere civilian. They were silenced by their fears towards those powerful people at minsan nasisilaw din sila sa pera. Kaya nawawala yung kanilang mga rights. So, some metaphysicians also asserted that the internal and varying truths about human beings and to erect these truths about human beings that was erected into laws lead to disaster. So, why do truths about human beings that was erected into laws lead to a disaster? Kasi ang katotohanan sa isang tao ang binabasihan dito sa paggawa ng batas. So, are they sure that all people think alike? No, di ba? And besides, if these people really think about rights, they should consider so many things. Like, kung gagawa sila ng rules or batas, hindi naka-base lang sa kanilang sariling opinion or sa kanilang perspective, since ang makikinabang nito ay ang maraming tao. So, kailangan i-consider din nila ang mga yun. Hindi pwedeng sa sariling pananaw mo lang i-base yung gagawin mong rule or law. So, Napoleon also quoted that the essence of human personality is obedience. Man has no rights, because man only expresses what dictators of totalitarian states believe and put into practice. So, si Napoleon, naniniwala din siyang man has no rights. And kasi, kumbaga, pagsunod lang daw yung personality ng isang tao. Sinusunod lang nila kung ano yung dinedikta ng mga dictators or diktador. So, nasasabi ito ng mga taong hindi nila naranasan maging malaya sa kanilang mga karapatan. So, maybe kung tayo din siguro ang malagay sa mga lugar kung saan dinidiktahan ka lang, masasabi mo din na man has no rights. Sa dinami-dami ng mga sinasabi ng ating mga critics, thinkers, and historians, we still maintain that rights, though abstract and imperceptible by sense, are nonetheless real. So there's always a reality for every little thing in this world, like the reality of our life, or yung realidad ng ating buhay, the reality of love, liberty, law, and even truth or yung katotohanan. So, ang mga bagay na ito ay intangible. 'Di ba? Kasi, kumbaga, hindi natin nahahawakan. You cannot take love, for instance, and waste it para malaman mo ang bigat nito. But still, we considered love as the greatest thing in the world. So, meaning, reality is not always within those tangible things. And likewise, thousands and thousands suffered and died for their rights. So, did all these people died for a mere illusion or abstraction? So, kung ang rights ay isang illusion, what's the essence of morality or yung moralidad ng mga batas, ng gobyerno, ng hustisya or justice, and the life itself, di ba? As we all know, all democratic constitutions are based on the doctrine of rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the United Nations, for instance, aprobado ito ng lahat ng nations na bumubuo sa UN, the basic foundation of world peace. So, they have been into a systematic way of evaluation since it's a global governance. So, kailangang i-consider ang mga values, norms, beliefs, cultures, traditions ng bawat nation, because it's hard to impose a certain rule or law to a country that follows its traditional policies. Kumbaga, halimbawa nito, hindi ka pwedeng mag-impose ng batas na, or let's say, illegal ang abortion sa country kung saan conservative sila, kasi parang naaapakan mo yung kanilang mga beliefs, yung kanilang paniniwala o yung kanilang kultura. So, kailangan before ka mag-impose ng certain law or batas sa isang bansa, sa isang lugar, dadaan muna ito sa systematic na pamamaraan kasi marami kang kailangang i-consider. Let's move on to the definition of rights. Right is anything due to a person. Right is a moral power residing in a person, in virtue whereof he refers to himself as well as his own actions, as also other things which stand referred to him in preference to other persons. And this is according to Joseph Rickaby. So, right is something that a person should be morally or legally allowed to have, to do, and to get. For example, is our life to, or our right to our life, or yung rights natin para mamuhay, our rights para maging masaya, and of course, our right for freedom of speech. See, we have so many rights, and this is due to, or these are due to us as a person. It's a moral power na nakapaloob na sa ating mga tao. So, take note, guys, that right is a moral power, and it is different from physical force or yung ability natin as a person. Pwedeng magkaroon tayo ng physical power over someone or something, but hindi siya right, or it is not necessarily our right. So, hindi ibig sabihin na dahil tinatawag mo ang right as your own at nagkataon na malakas ka, hindi pwede na basta-basta ka nalang mang-api ng ibang tao kung kailan mo magustuhan. Because you don't have the right. You only have the physical power but not the right. So, this is also similar to a distinction between authority, which is moral, and power or yung tinatawag na force, which is physical. So, ang sabi pa, the righteous man deprived of all the power and condemned to die does not diminish. He increases his moral authority. On the other hand, the gangster has a power over the goods he has stolen, but he has no right or authority over them. So, parang when you die, or no, when you lived your life morally and then dies as powerless person, you are still or you will be still remembered in a good way. Sa kabilang dako naman, if may power ka as a person, ikaw lang yung nasasatisfy sa mga pinanggagawa mong immoral. Like, let's say, pagnanakaw. And you don't have also the right to people to order them or utusan sila na gawin kung ano yung ginagawa mo.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I am Hajar El Silungan, DSCE. Ang topic po naming magkakagrupo ay ang Human Rights and Natural Law. My topic for this chapter is Misconception of Individual Rights or maling kuro-kuro sa karapatan pang-individual. There are two extreme views of man lead to two erroneous doctrine of human rights. First theory state that the individual is supreme and is entirely free and absolutely independent from all interference or control on the part of the state. Therefore, man has all the rights which are absolute and unlimited. Ito'y nangangahulugan na bawat isa ay walang limitado sa karapatang pangtao. Which is, itong theory na ito is naglilid ng erroneous doctrine for human rights. The other extreme theory maintained that the state has complete sovereignty of individuals, that man has no reality or existence apart from state, which that state is the source of all rights. So it means individual has no rights before the state. This theory leads to state absolutism and was an effect taught by idealists like Plato and Hegel, and many materialists like Hobbes and Marx. Ang sinasabi sa theory na ito, tayong mga tao ay not reality o hindi tayo totoo and not existent. Hindi rin tayo nag-exist dito sa mundo. Kaya naman, ang state ay mas may karapatan kaysa sa ating mga tao. Ang theory na ito ay epekto dulot ng mga idealist katulad ni na Plato at Hegel at mga materialist gaya naman ni na Hobbes at Marx. So, yun ang pangalawang theory na naglilid ng erroneous doctrine of human rights. So, nalaman natin ang dalawang theory na naglilid ng erroneous sa doctrine of human rights. So, ngayon, ang question is, ano nga ba ang true concept of human right? So, we believe is found midway between these two extreme theory. Man has right and interior and superior to the state, but these rights are limited by the common goods. Ibig sabihin, tayong mga tao ay mas may karapatan tayo at mas mataas ang ating karapatan kaysa sa ating state. Ngunit, ang karapatang ito ay mayroong limitado by the common goods. So, natapos natin ang topic na misconception of individual rights o ang maling mga kuro-kuro sa karapatang pang-individual. Ngayon naman ay dumako tayo sa limitation of rights o mga limitado sa ating mga karapatan. According to the Book of Maritain, the man and the state state that just as every law, notably the natural law, on which they are grounded, aims in the common goods. So human rights have an intrinsic relation to the common good. Sinasabi sa books na ito na ang natural law ay nagbabatay sa layunin ng common goods. So ano nga ba ang common goods na ito? Common goods? Common goods refer to those facilities, whether material, cultural, or institutional, that the members of a community provide to all members in order to fulfill a relational obligation. They all have to care for certain interests that they have in common. Sa madaling salita, ang common goods ay ang kabutihang pangkalahatan, kung saan walang nangapakang ibang tao or lahat ay pantay-pantay. Pantay-pantay sa isang community. So, ang human rights ay dapat ay nakaugnay sa common goods. So, halimbawa nito, the right to life or to pursue of happiness are such a kind that the common goods would be imperiled. If the body politic could restrict in any measure the position men naturally have of this right. The right to life or pursuit of happiness ay isang napakagandang karapatan. Subalit, ito'y kailangan din sumunod sa tuntunin ng common goods. Kailangan ay wala kang maapakang tao o masasagasaan. So we may say that they are absolutely inalienable o hindi dapat ito'y pagkait sa kahit sinuman. The right to life or pursuit of happiness. So the other example is the right of association, of free speech, are such kind that the common good would be imperiled. If the body politic could not restrict, in some measure, the position that man naturally have of them, we may say they are inalienable only in substance. So, if the politic could not restrict in some measure, the position of that man naturally have them. So, they are inalienable only in substance. As we continue, yet even absolutely inalienable rights are liable to limitation, if not as to their position, at least to their exercise. So we will deal with the distinction between position and exercise of a right. Even in the case of absolutely inalienable rights, we must distinguish between position and exercise. So, let's distinguish between them. The latter being subject to condition and limitation dictated in each case by justice. So, example, if a criminal can be justly condemned to die, it is because by his crime he has deprived himself. Let us not say of the right to life, but of the possibility of justly asserting this right, he has morally cut himself off from the human community. Precisely, as regard the use of these fundamental and inalienable rights, of which the punishment inflicted upon him prevent the exercise. So if we asserting the right to live is its inflict him to prevent exercise. There will be four we must to discuss to truly understand the human rights. First, all that rights are defined by the natural law, and therefore, rights are limited what the natural law prescribes or allows. So kinakailangan lahat ng mga karapatan ay napapaloob sa natural law on what they prescribe or allows. There is never the right. For instance, it is due by evil. Secondly, right have necessary the correlation of duties. To every right, there exists a corresponding duty. Example nito is the right to live. So, hindi ibig sabihin na mayroong karapatan na mabuhay, ay mayroong ka ring karapatan kumitil ng buhay ng ibang tao, which is not justice. Hindi ito tama. So, this all follows from the principle of justice. We must give each one his duty. This means that each one has right, which it is the duty of others to respect, just as I also have my rights, which it is the duty of others to respect. Thirdly, right must be limited for the preservation of the social order. Unlimited rights necessarily means conflict of rights and eventually lead to the very dissolution of all rights. Sad to say, having an unlimited rights can only result in a conflict or dissolution of all rights. So lastly, like everything human rights are limited because of the very limitation of human nature. Man is always a mixture, and never a pure being or pure act. Man is physically free, yet morally bound. Man is spirit, yet bound to matter, and etc. etc. So we need to limit our human rights or our rights because we as a human, we are limited for our nature. As Randall say in Preface to Philosophy, why individual rights cannot be unlimited. Unlimited individual rights make all good government impossible and often lead in the end to the ascendancy of one man or party who exercises the authority of government and takes all rights away, as in dictatorship. So having unlimited rights is like the governance of dictatorship, which is dictatorship is ruled by one leader and have an absolute power. So, nasa kanya yung batas. The nation where an individual has absolute rights is a mistaken interpretation of the truth that all law and government exist to serve men and safeguard the natural rights. Having an unlimited rights is really a mistaken interpretation. Imagine that our governance do their best to para lamang maibigay sa atin ang para sa ating na karapatan. So, kung maghahangad ka ng unlimited na rights, it is really mistaken. So for example, what happened is that when a man struggles for his rights, he sometimes think only of his own rights, forgetting that all others living in the same society have equal rights with himself. This is true. Tama naman. Halimbawa naman kasi, kapag nagkaroon ka ng komplikado or struggle sa iyong right, halimbawa, the right to live, so kapag namuhay ka, so maghahanap ka ng makakain or basic needs. So minsan nakakalimutan natin na meron ding karapatan yung iba. Kasi minsan, gumagawa tayo ng masama para lamang mabuhay, which is wrong. His enjoyment of his right cannot be right at all if it spoil another opportunities. This means that he has just as much duty to respect their rights as they have to respect his. All rights sink or swim together. This is precisely what the law provides in the equality of rights and duty. No rights without law. So, that's all for the discussion in limitation of rights. So now let's discuss the full gamut of human rights.
The full gamut of human rights. So, this is just an introduction since hinati namin ni Miss Silungan ang part na ito. Gamut simply means as range or series of related things. So, we have this corona, hindi siya coronavirus ha. It's a corona theory of rights, and according to this theory, a primordial or ancient right is viewed as a sun with sub-rights emanating from it as radiation seen like a solar corona during a total eclipse. So, ibig sabihin, sa theory na ito, lahat daw ng rights, may it old or new, it's somewhat like interconnected. Katulad ng sun at saka ang kanyang sun rays. So, for example is our right to live or yung karapatan natin mamuhay. So, kapag naiisip natin ang ating right to live, naiisip din natin, di ba, ang ating right to earn for a living, our right to eat, our right to some basic needs na kinakailangan natin sa ating pamumuhay araw-araw. So, it's all connected. So, by the way, are you familiar with Bill of Rights? Pahapyaw lang ito siya sa aming report. So, Bill of Rights is the Article 3 of Philippine Constitution. So, it establishes the relationship of the individual to the state and defines the rights of the individual by limiting the lawful powers of the state. So, dun sa Bill of Rights, according to the section number 1, basahin ko lang para magka-idea kayo, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or power without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied at the equal protection of the laws. So, If you are wondering kung bakit may mga rights na wala sa Bill of Rights, um, na supposed to be is nandoon dapat kasi it's an important right like our right to privacy, just go back to the Corona Theory of Rights. Baka hindi lang natin na-appreciate or nakikita pero nandoon talaga siya, and ang rason kung bakit hindi natin nakikita ito is because of our poor vision, or let's say no, I mean because of our poverty or poverty of our vision. So, just go back to the Corona Theory of Rights kung saan sinasabi na ang mga rights is interconnected. So, baka yung hinahanap natin na right is nandoon talaga sa Bill of Rights. Hindi lang natin napapansin kasi yung pinaka-head lang yung present doon. So, like, yung halimbawa kanina na para daw siyang sun and its sun rays. So, baka yung sun lang ang nandoon at yung hinahanap natin ay sun rays lang or konektado lang doon. So, above all, we should understand our rights towards other people, towards a certain thing or situation, and of course, we should also recognize the rights of other people to us. And baka kasi you don't have the right tayo minsan, pero tayo mismo sa mga sarili natin hindi natin alam or hindi rin natin naiintindihan kung ano ang mga ito. So better do what is right and ibahagi din sa mga tao. So that's it for my part. Thank you for watching and listening.
The first part of this discussion was discussed by Ms. Japar. So now, let's continue the discussion. Likewise, it would be absurdly anachronistic to expect to find all possible rights included in the Bill of Rights, for the simple reason that the same depends on the current state of knowledge and development of man in society at the same said bill was enunciated. A few years back, who ever thought of the right to die, the right of unborn, the right of dead man to have his remains returned inboard in his homeland, and etc. So noong mga naunang panahon, nung hindi pa nabuo ang Bills of Rights, so wala pang nagkakaisip na magkaroon ng rights ang mga taong namatay or ang mga taong hindi pa naipanganak. Social life evolves and its ever-increasing complexities bring to light certain rights, particularly in economics, cultural rights, the existence and importance of which we are unknown or unrecognized before. Furthermore, no listing of rights can be complete for the simple reason that such list would include all possible type of rights, which is potentially infinite. Para magkaroon lamang ng sinasabi na rights o yung pinapasa na rights to the law is marami pa siyang process. Marami pang nagdidesisyon na ito ay pwede na siyang i-implement. Even without evoking the world-famous theory of Gödel that no system of thought can be complete and closed, we know that such a complete list of rights cannot be finalized because of indeterminacy and unpredictability of the position and final state of society in final evolution. Social life signifies both progress and process toward perfection. But absolutely, perfection is impossible. Impossible of attainment because nothing human is perfect or absolute. According to the theory of Gödel, that no system of thought can be complete or closed. It because hindi pa nako-complete ang mga list of rights. It's because some problems or rights ay hindi pa natin na-recognize o hindi pa natin kinakaharap. Our social life signifies both process and progress toward perfection. So, we are looking for perfection. But, absolute perfection is impossible of attainment. We can attain absolute absolute perfection. It's because we as human is not perfect. Nobody's perfect or absolute. But at least through the list of rights, we are tayo ay nagkakaintindihan, nag um, mayroong justice, and tayo ay namumuhay in peaceful world. So, that's all my report. I hope you learn a lot, and I hope you enjoy my video. And that's all. Once again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala jami'an wa barakatuh.
And now we will proceed to Beyond Declaration, Implementation, Realization. So in this topic, we will tackle about the Bill of Rights. So what is this Bill of Rights? When we said Bill of Rights, it is under the Article 3 of the Philippine Constitution, which establishes the relationship of the individual to the state. So its very own purpose is to define the rights of individual or the citizen or the every one of us by limiting the lawful powers of the state or the government. So what does the Bill of Rights do? As what I said before, it is the first 10 amendments of the Constitution which guarantees the civil rights and the liberties of every one of us, like the freedom of speech, press, and religion. To sum it up, Bill of Rights is for the advantage of the citizen. But if it is little or nothing is not implemented or translated into reality or into action, then it will become frustrated or hindered. Or for short, it will become useless if this Bill of Rights is not implemented well. Additional under this topic, it says that take the right to life. This phrase or thought means that all of our actions to be done must defend or based on the heart of the Constitution for us to attain the everyone's rights or the rights to all the citizen. For example, by doing the good deeds, even if it is in a simple way. How about the right to eat and live decently in accordance with our dignity as human beings? When the prices of food lie far beyond the reach of our hungry, impoverished millions. So it only means that when the prices of food satisfied our hungry, the possible effect of that is the impoverished millions or the poverty-stricken to millions of individuals. That's why there's a necessary law that can implement with that certain situation so that it cannot lead into poverty or impoverished in terms of food. And also, it helps to balance the status of economy or a certain place. Lastly, constitutional. It guarantees the fundamental rights of everybody and it corresponds the duties on part of every individual. Actually, its prior function is to correct properly and eliminate those causes and conditions that made everyone's rights impossible. Always remember that no one can take away any of your rights because human rights means that each individual should be treated with respect, dignity, and equality. So that's all to our report. Thank you for listening.